Good morning. It's Friday. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our live training of eIMMIGRATION. My name is Vanessa Vargas. On behalf of Cerenade, I want to thank you for joining us today. Today, we're covering a quick overview of some of our most popular modules. And this is a live training. We are recording it so you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and you receive notifications when we upload new videos. We also appreciate if you hit the like button when you watch them. Also, we have been advised by our friends at GoToWebinar to use Chrome, especially if you're a Mac user. So if you are, please switch to Chrome if you're using Safari now. And even better, please download the GoToWebinar app so that you can watch the videos when we share them today. Last week we had an issue and we found out that the problem is that with GoToWebinar, if you are a Mac user, they advise you to use Chrome instead of Safari. So if you feel like, if you can't watch the videos when I'm playing them, make the switch and let me know. Okay, message me. But hopefully, I'm crossing my fingers. Hopefully, we don't have the issue this session. And so today's PowerPoint presentation is available for you to download if you click on the handout section and you go to webinar panel. Okay, so make sure that you click there, download the app so that you can click on the links that I'm going to be sharing with you. So let's get started. So the basic three steps that we always cover because some of you are new are how to create a contact, how to link members, and how to create cases. For the modules that I'm going to showing are e-filing, custom reports. And by the way, we're going to be playing the video for the old user interface, but it's the same steps. We also want you to know how to schedule a report. What is the USCIS Visa Bulletin Times Tracker module, SMS for text messaging, Timekeeper, and billing. Later, when we cover those modules, we're going to show you what are the resources and support, a Q&A, and a Did You Know section, as well as the upcoming training classes. All right, so let's get started. Again, for those who are new, we want you to know how to get started, like what to do when, let me switch my screen. When you first log in, let me quickly just cover the three basic steps. When you log in, we recommend that you create a contact. If you go to the left, create a client or contact profile. This could be a prospect or active. Enter the information. Again, it could be also an individual or a business client, but enter the information for your client and create the contact. I'm going to show you an existing contact so you can get an idea. Once you have that contact profile, that's where you enter the information. If you want to learn how to enter the data, how to use the questionnaires, we have tons of videos in our YouTube channel. So if you go to youtube.com, search for Cerenade Client Academy, we have a lot of videos here that you can watch on how to send a questionnaire or how to create your own questionnaires, how to use the alternate view, etc. After you create the contact profile and you enter the information, the last step, sorry, just kidding. The next step is to link the members. The members could be the children, the parents, spouse, maybe a joint sponsor. It's very important that you click on link member and you enter the information. If it's a new contact, most likely it will be. Click here, create new contact and enter the information for the family member, the husband, the children, but don't generate a client number. Just keep it or leave it blank. And that way you can differentiate your contacts versus actual clients. But anyways, once you create the contact, select a relationship. This is a daughter, this is a spouse, father, mother. So just select a relationship and that way when you get to the forms, if the form is asking for children information, well, they're going to transfer right away. Okay, so that's step number 2, linking the members. And now the final step would be to create the case. When you create a case, you're going to access the forms. And that's where you find other features that we can talk about today, such as the times tracker or e-filing. But anyway, so creating a case through the case wizard basically is just choosing the type of process and your location or department. All of these drop-down menus can be customized. So if you guys want to customize them, go to the administrative portal. as well as your information for the attorney or the interpreter, which, by the way, we have new features coming soon regarding that. And here's where you choose the role when creating the case. My client could be the petitioner, her husband is the alien. Sometimes you can select beneficiary, but just keep in mind you have to click on the party on the man buttons when you get to the forms. So we actually recommend that you select alien. It's just faster. And then if you have a derivative, let's say the son, then you can choose that too. Or just leave them blank. And then you have all the forms ready for you to work with them and just create. Unless you need to add another form, you can definitely do that. Add another form. It will take you to the case window. We always recommend that you click on the client's name right here in the top so that you can open both profiles at the same time. But anyways, I just wanted to give you a quick intro to the basic steps for those who are new. Today's webinar is about a quick overview of some of these most popular modules. So let's get started with the first one. Again, if you guys are a Mac user, please make sure you use Chrome instead of Safari. Otherwise, you might have problems watching the videos that we're going to be playing today. So the first module that I'm going to be playing, give me 1 second. All right. So the first one is e-filing. So let's learn about e-filing and let me know if you guys have any questions, okay? While I play the video, you can also message me via the chat. For those who have a Mac and you're using Chrome, can you message me if you are able to hear and see the video just so I have peace of mind? Thanks.
Hello, and welcome to our Cerenade video. In this video, we will go over the e-filer and the update to the user interface. What the e-filer does is allow you to e-file forms directly into sites like the Department of State, the USCIS, Department of Labor, or other. Now, in order to use the e-filer, you must be signed up to the e-filing optional module. You must also have a PC computer, as the e-filer is a PC application. If using a Mac, you would need to use a third-party solution such as Amazon Workspaces, which allows you to use a PC desktop remotely on a Mac computer. Let us log into our caseworker portal. The first thing we want to do is download our e-filer. If hovering over the Tools section on the left, you will see e-filing. Click on it. You are now in the area to download the e-filer. On this page, you will see some prerequisites you might need to download if using an older computer. You will focus on the link at the bottom that says Launch and click on it, downloading the e-filer to your computer. Once downloaded, install it onto your computer. Once installed, you will see a new app on your computer titled Cerenade ECMS e-filer. We will come back to this. Let us go back into the caseworker portal and find a form to e-file. Going back to the home page, let us search for a case. Once inside the case, go to the Form section. Locate a form you wish to e-file, such as the DS-160. Let us go inside the form. Once you have added your info on the form, let us click on Save and exit the form. Now that we have a form to e-file, the first thing we want to do is click on the Lock button, so that no one can change information on the form. Once doing so, you will see on the right an e-filing column where the status says Ready and a clickable link to schedule. If we want to send this to our e-filer, we will click on Schedule, and in doing so, it now changes the status as scheduled. In certain forms from the USCIS, you will see a pop-up in which you need to address additional questions to e-file properly. On the description of this video is another video that goes over this. However, with DS forms, we will simply click on Schedule, and we have now sent this to our e-filer application. If you do not have our e-filing application open, locate it on your computer and open it. You will first be asked to enter your website name. This is a distinct URL given to your account. This information can be found in the area where we downloaded our e-filer. You will see it there. Copy it and paste it onto the e-filer. You can click on the Remember Me checkbox so that it automatically appears next time. We will click on Log In. We will then be asked to enter our caseworker portal credentials. Proceed to enter them and click on Log In. You are now logged into the e-filer and will notice all these scheduled forms to the left. This list can be resized by clicking on the right and dragging it to a size you prefer. You can also narrow down listings by case number or form. You will find filter buttons where you can narrow down by selections or search specific entries. If wanting to e-file one of the scheduled forms on the list, click on it, and the screen on the right will take you into its respective site, either the Department of State, the USCIS, or other. You will proceed with entering CAPTCHAs, login information if it applies, and once inside the form, you will notice the Populate Data button will appear. When clicked, the information you had on the form on eIMMIGRATION will transfer into the form online. You will go page by page, clicking on Populate Data until finished. You will see that the scheduled forms will always remain on the left. When clicking on one of the forms, it will take you to e-file that form. If you unintentionally click on another form to e-file, you will get a warning letting you know that you are switching forms and any unsaved information will be lost. You can then decide if you don't wish to change forms and remain in the form you are e-filing, or indeed move on to another form to e-file. Once you have finished e-filing a form, you will go to the tab listed as Mark as Complete. You will be asked to enter a reference number, which is open to anything you would like to enter, and once you click on Mark as Complete, it will remove the form from the scheduled list, and the next time you go into the form in the case profile, you will see the status has been changed to complete, and the reference number will be listed. This concludes our video on e-filing.
Isn't it wonderful? I mean, if you guys don't have e-filing yet and you are interested in adding that to your plan or upgrading your plan for any of the modules that we're gonna showcase today, please let us know if you're interested in testing and maybe upgrading your plan, okay? All right, so thank you so much for those who confirmed that you were able to watch the video and hear it fine. I'm relieved. So let's play the next one. So now I'm gonna play one of my favorite features ever. I always say that if I was a solo practitioner, my one module, if I had to pick one, would be this one, custom reports. It is kind of like the assistant of the assistant because you can create any report and schedule them and just save a lot of time. And in my opinion, the more organized you are, the better service that you can provide to your clients. So let's watch this and see how custom reports can benefit us. And let me know if you have any questions, okay? Thank you. This is a long video, so beware.
Hello, and welcome to our Cerenade video. In this video, we will show you how to create a custom report and also scheduling these custom reports so that they appear in your mailbox every month, week, and so forth. We will start off by making a basic custom report. From there, we will show you different layers you can add on this report. Now, to create this custom report, you must have the optional module Custom Reports. Let's get started. Let us go to our homepage of the Caseworker portal. Let us click on the settings icon on the top right and select Administrative Tools. Once inside the Admin Tools page, you will click on Templates. Now, to create a brand new report, you will click on the Add Report template located on the left. You are now inside the Custom Report Designer. The first thing we will want to do is give our report a name. We will then include a brief description to help you identify what type of report you will be running. Next, we will want to decide who has access to run this report, if you want all caseworkers, attorneys, paralegals, etc. Lastly, you will select if you want your clients to have access to view or run this report, whether it be an individual or a business client. Now that we've established who can run these reports, we will now go into designing the report. The first thing is you will want to do is set the criteria. In other words, this is you telling the system what info you are specifically looking for. If we leave the criteria blank, the system will not gather info from a specific section, but rather give a broad general search of all info located throughout the system. Since we are starting off by creating a simple report, we will leave this criteria blank to allow the system to gather info from all possible locations. Later in this video, we will show you how adding criteria can narrow down what you're looking for. For our first example, I will want to gather all emails from my individual clients, a pretty simple report to create. Since we are not adding criteria, we will go straight into the columns. The columns are what you want displayed on this report. When selecting a column, it is divided into 3 sections consisting of the file type, the file subtype, and the field name. For this column, I want the emails to be displayed. Under File Type, I will select Individual Client because it is under the individual client's profile that the email is located. Then, for the subtype, I will select General Info because their email is located in the General Info page of their client profile. Lastly, I will scroll down to the email and select it. Keep in mind, because we are running a report on our individual clients, this report will exclude your business clients. You may also run similar reports with business clients, and you can also set a criteria to have both individual clients and business client appear. For this report, I simply want to report for all my individual clients. Let us continue. Once I have this selected, I will want to dictate if I want it sorted out in descending or ascending fashion to finalize it. Once I've selected all these options, I will click on the test option to see what it looks like. The system should have now generated a report with email addresses. Now, if you want to add another info, such as the client's name, maybe even a phone number, we will click the Add Column button and create a column like the one we created for the emails. We will select Individual Client, General Info, and lastly, Client's first name. Add another column, select Individual Client, General Info, and select Client's last name. Finally, we will add another column, select Individual Client, General Info, and then select Cell Phone. If we click on Test, we will see that the report has been generated what we selected: the email, the first name, the last name, and the cell phone number. The possibilities of what you can add to your report are endless. Basically, much of the info you have on your profiles can be displayed on this report by simply adding new columns. You can also do something similar with info located in other sections, such as case info, billing, calendar, and so forth. Just as columns asking for client info, you would simply have to select the file type, in other words, where in the system is this info located, the subfile type, in other words, where within that file is that info located, and lastly, the field name, the piece of info you are looking for. Keep in mind, when you combine columns such as info from a case and columns asking for info from a client profile, the report will gather info from whoever you've set as a main party at the case level. Other parties tied to the case who are not chosen as a main party will be omitted on your report. Now, using our email example, let's say I want a report that lists what we mentioned above, but I also want to see what type of case process I am doing for this client. Because the case process is in the case profile itself, the system will take this into account and associate it with the main party you have set for the case. So, I will go to my file type, I will select case, I will select the file subtype as general info, and lastly, the field name I will select process. When I go to test this out, the system will generate the report with the case process my main client is doing, the email associated with the client, my main client's first name, last name, and their cell phone. If I want to add more things regarding the case or the client profile, I will proceed to repeat the same steps of adding new columns. The last thing to show you in the column section before moving on to adding criteria is these columns can sum up your listings or give the average. This will come in handy when creating billing reports. Once you've added columns with info such as payments, totals, or other, rather than you going one by one adding up the quantities listed, you can select the export footer on the right to sum up or average the quantities. If selecting sum, for example, when I run this report in Excel format, I will see a new line created at the end with the sum amount. Now that we've covered creating a simple report, we will move on to more advanced reporting involving adding criteria. As mentioned before, by omitting criteria, we are asking the system to run a general report of all files involved in your profiles. By adding criteria, we are asking the system to narrow down our search to find exact info. Let us continue using the example of gathering my client's email. If you remember, we made a general list asking for all my clients' emails. But what if I want to run a report where only clients with Gmail accounts appear? What if I want to gather all emails that contain Gmail and Yahoo accounts? What adding criteria does is it helps me zero down on info I want. So, for this example, I will want the system to generate a report with all Gmail accounts. I will click on Add Criteria, set the file type to Individual Client, set the file subtype to General Info, and set the field name to Email. Next to it is where I will tell the system what type of report I want. In the comparison, I have numerous choices ranging from equal to not equal to. Since I want all Gmail accounts, I will select Contains in my comparison because I want the system to gather the emails that contain the keyword Gmail. In the field value next to it, I will type out Gmail. Once I have established the criteria, I will click on Test, and we will see that the system has generated a report with all my Gmail accounts. As you can see, the system has the ability to zero down on info. Some of the other options you can do in the comparisons is equal to. With equal to, the field value next to it will only grab exact fields. So, if I were to leave @gmail.com and try to test it, it wouldn't gather anything because more than likely, you don't have clients with @gmail.com as their email. You would have a client's email as ray@gmail.com, for example, or jenny@gmail.com, for example. If I typed in ray@gmail.com, you would see the system pull up your client link to this email because it pulled the exact text and saw that there was a match to this client. Now, you may ask yourself, this report using equal to doesn't really tell me anything in this example. But think of other reports you can use this equal to option. Maybe I want to run a report that lists all my clients whose birth country is Mexico. Maybe I want to run a report on my cases that are new filings. This equal to selection will minimize to only show my selection, helping you zero down on info you want. Your next comparison options are Start With and End With. Similar to when we created the report using Contains, maybe you only know the first part of the desired criteria. Maybe you only know the ending. By typing the ending such as gmail.com, it will pull all possible matches to your search criteria. When we hit Test, you will see that the report has gathered all that info for you. Your next comparisons are empty and non-empty. What these comparisons do is locate the desired field you are looking for, but rather than locate specific criteria such as our Gmail example in the previous section, this will gather a list of all accounts that have that specific section filled out, or gather the ones that have no info on that field. Depending on what type of report you're trying to conduct, this empty and non-empty comparison will help gather this information. Using our email examples, maybe you want to run a report where it gathers all profiles with emails to send out. When using not empty, it will only include those that have an email in that email field. Or maybe I want to see which profiles have that email field empty so I can add emails to their accounts. I'll use the isEmpty comparison to achieve my report, listing me all my clients who don't have an email in their profile and proceed from there. The last comparison is not equal to. If you remember from earlier, when selecting equal to, it helps gather exact info located in a field. With not equal to, the system will gather all info on a specific field minus what you typed. So, using an example with this comparison, maybe I want to run a report on my clients that list everyone's country of birth minus those born in Mexico. So if I set the criteria to not equal to and type Mexico in the field value, the system will generate that report for us, gathering clients from all over the world according to what you have in their country of birth minus Mexico. Now, the comparisons we just covered can be applied to numerous sections. However, there are additional comparisons when it comes to fields that have a date. If we try to create a report that asks for a date, such as when a case was created, we would put our file type as case, our sub-file type is general info, and the field value at creation date. If we open up our comparisons, we will notice new categories such as this week, this month, this quarter, the next 6 months, this year, today, yesterday, before today, less than X days before today, and more than X days before today. It's pretty straightforward. If we select one like this week, it will list all my cases I created this week, If I selected less than X days before today, it would ask me to input a number on the field value. From there, I would add the number signifying how many days. In both cases, I will hit the test button and see that the report has been generated. Also, keep in mind that this will come in handy when scheduling your reports. With custom reports, you can schedule these reports so that you can get your desired report emailed to you on a weekly, monthly, or yearly basis. So, if you wanted to run a report listing all docket cases created this month, you would apply the criteria, including the comparison to this month, and proceed to schedule it. To schedule a report, you would simply go into the admin portal, and right next to the templates button, you will see this schedule report button. We will click on it and then find the blue button that says add scheduled report. We will select the report we created, select the start date, the end date, the recurrence of the report, the format of the report, the subject of the email, and finally, your own email. Anyone you want CC'd and BCC'd, and lastly, any message you want to add on this email. Once you click Save, you will receive a scheduled report according to the criteria you've set. Now, we've shown you how to add a single layer of criteria, but you can also add multiple layers to better construct the report that you are looking for. Just as we applied the first criteria, we will also add a second criteria. Notice when we add a second criteria, a new box appears called the operator, which will give you the option of and also or. By selecting and, the report will use both criteria to narrow down your report results. In the situation of the emails, if I set a criteria of wanting all Gmail's account, and I create another criteria, maybe asking for all my DACA clients, by selecting and, the system will gather info based on both criterias. I will get a specific list of DACA clients who have Gmail accounts. Where OR comes into play, using our email example, if I want to run a report with both Gmails and Yahoo accounts, by selecting OR, the system will grab both and make a list. If I had selected AND, in this case, the system would not pull up anything because you do not have a client who has both Gmail and Yahoo accounts in their emails. More than likely, you have one or the other. By selecting OR, the system grabs both and proceeds to making a report with both. Now, the very last thing with our criteria is the importance of these AND or OR functions in the operation. In our system, AND takes a preference over OR, meaning the system will grab two criteria bounded by and gather that specific info over two criteria gathered by OR. This comes into play when you have maybe 3 or more criteria with operators. So if I said I want a criteria listing my DACA clients and another criteria asking for Gmail accounts, have that operator for those two as AND. Select a new criteria asking for Yahoo accounts and have its operator as OR. The system will take the preference of AND comparison before moving on to the OR comparison. Also, you can add parentheses over a group of items you want to take priority in the system gathering the info. Just like PEMDAS in math has you solving what's in the parentheses first, by adding them to a specific section of the criteria, the system will focus on that section first, applying the criteria you have chosen and then applying other criteria outside the parentheses. As I have mentioned earlier, these are only brief, simple examples of the type of reports you can construct. The possibilities and results are numerous. It's now up to you to design a report using the knowledge learned on this video. This concludes our video on custom reports.
So for custom reports, again, let us know if you want to test it. Also, when you are using custom reports, make sure that if you want to schedule the report so that you receive it automatically or send it automatically, that your criteria is defined. For example, let me open one of the reports so I can explain. So let's pick this one, all active naturalization cases created this year by a caseworker. Let me open it. So having a criteria defined is like this. For example, I am asking for the creation date to be greater than this date versus this other criteria, the caseworker is not defined because the system doesn't know which caseworker are you looking for. So maybe I can say not empty or equal to and in, or you have to pick, specific case workers so that this becomes a defined criteria. When you have that, then you can save it, go back to schedule reports, and then you're going to see that report listed here in this drop down menu. Okay, so I'm going to pick the report and say, I want to see this report as a PDF starting today until the end of the year. I want to send this report to my staff every day, every week, every month. Like you can choose for how long and how often you want to send the report. Just enter the email addresses. It doesn't have to be someone using the system, and then you can just have the system send that PDF automatically every week, for example. I'm just giving you a random example, but yeah, if you are interested, let us know. And the next module that we're going to cover today is the USCIS Visa Bulletin Times Tracker. So let me play that video and let me know if you guys have any questions, okay? Thank you.
Hello, and welcome to our Cerenade video. In this video, we will demonstrate how to use the USCIS Visa Bulletin Times Tracker. It is an optional module we offer that tracks USCIS receipt numbers and Visa Bulletin info pertaining to your client on a nightly basis. It checks according to the dates on the processing timetable provided by the USCIS and the Visa Bulletin provided by the Department of State. Once your client becomes current, you will get an email notification allowing you to take the next steps. This avoids you having to check periodically. The software does the work for you. Let us log into the Caseworker portal. In order to use this module, you must have a case profile already created for your client. Let us locate the case. Once the case has been found, go to the Documents tab on the right and subcategories will open up. We will focus on the ones titled Immigrant Visas and Notices. When clicking on Immigrant Visas, you can now insert visa information pertaining to your client. Let us click on Add Immigrant Visa. From here, we will enter some information. First, we will begin with the priority date, then your category, your preference, and finally the country of chargeability. Once you've inserted this info, the system will automatically set the filing cutoff date and the final action cutoff date. It will also automatically list the filing current as of and final action current as of later when your client's dates become current. You will then select who will receive an email notification by clicking on this blue icon. A pop-up will appear. You can set yourself, another caseworker, and you can even have the client receive the email. This means once your client becomes current, all parties checked here will receive an email notification. Now, the bottom section does not need to be filled out, but will help you when receiving the email report. This is you listing the info that will appear in the email, such as naming the petitioner on the case, the beneficiary, the client email, and the caseworkers. Once we have all this info, we will finalize by clicking on Save. By saving and inserting this info, the software will now check on a nightly basis for these dates. It will also update if there are any date changes on the Visa Bulletin. As soon as it sees that your client is now current according to the Visa Bulletin, you will get an email notification with those details. The software essentially becomes in charge of tracking, notifying you, and avoiding missing these dates. With USCIS Receipts, it works similar. Going back to the document section on the case profile, we will now go to Notices. We will add a notice. From here, we will enter some information. The first thing asked is the receipt number. Then you will enter the filing date. You will then enter the filing center. You will select the form submitted. The forms listed here correlates with the forms accepted by that location according to the USCIS processing times table. The form description will be listed for you. You will select the classification if it applies to this form. Once you have this info, the processing time will be listed according to the USCIS processing times table. The final action current as of will list when your client becomes current. You can enter more information such as issuance date, notice date, as well as other info, but it is not needed. The software has enough info to track this receipt. But before we click on Save and Exit out, just like with the visa info we did earlier, we will select who will receive the email notification by clicking on the blue icon. You will select the caseworkers and can even select which clients will receive the email. Once you've made your selections, click on Done. Besides selecting who receives an email, we can share this with the client via the client portal, allowing them to monitor their receipt once they log in. We can even upload an image file pertaining to this receipt through here. Lastly, just like we saw previously, you can enter more detailed info that you'll see on the email you receive, such as the petitioner, the beneficiary, the client's email, the caseworker's name, and lastly, any notes. Once you click Save, just like with Visa Bulletin info, the software will track this receipt according to the processing times table. As soon as it senses your client is current, according to the dates on there, you will receive an email notification. As you can see, this optional module will come in handy tracking dates and sending you emails so you don't miss out on important dates. But this feature here also allows you to store receipt info as well. If you ever need to change info, you can always come back to this receipt located in the case and click the edit button, adding new stuff to it. Or, if you want to see what's the status of the receipt, you can click on the link and it will take you to the USCIS site with the latest. If you were to share this with your client, they can also view this clickable link in the client profile as mentioned previously. If you click on the link and notice that the case was approved or simply don't need this receipt to be tracked anymore, you can go back inside the receipt details and click on Completed. That way, you don't receive an email alerting you that the client is current, as this optional module will still be tracking those dates. By hitting Complete, it's like you telling the system the case is done and there is no need to keep tracking these dates. Something to keep in mind, this Times Tracker feature is directly linked with the Visa Bulletin and the Processing Times table linked with the USCIS, meaning it will show exact locations, exact forms, and exact times according to what's on there. But what if you receive a notice from a different location, not on the Processing Times table? You can still add it on here, but because there is no processing times table for that new location, our software is unable to track the receipt number as it normally would with ones on the processing times table. However, you can add the info here for safekeeping and still click on the link, taking you to the USCIS site. To add a non-trackable notice, you must first add a custom filing center, so that it becomes an option to select when adding the notice. This can be done in the Admin Tools page. To access the Admin Tools page, click on the Settings button on the top right and proceed to click on Administrative Tools. Once inside the Admin Tools page, click on Custom Filing Center. You will then click on Add Custom Filing Center. From here, you will add the name of the location and click on Save. Once saved, you will now go to the Caseworker portal, and just like we inserted the previous receipt, you will locate the new filing center. Manually type the form name, the description, and add more other info if needed. Once saved, you will now be able to click on the link to see the status, and you can also share this with your client. This concludes our video on the optional module USCIS Visa Bulletin Times Tracker.
So, for those who want to share with your clients, really quick, let me go back to my caseworker module. And I am going to access a case. So from here, I'm going to go to Documents, then click on Notices or Immigrant Visas. And then once I have the receipt, let me quickly add one. My filing date, my filing center, the form, like the video says, if it's not in that particular filing center, that's, we can't really make up time. So that's why you can customize the, let me just pick any form. You can customize the filing center drop down menu. Anyway, so once you have the receipt, here you'll find the option that says share with clients. So make sure that you click to share, and you can also enter their email address if you want to let them know or send that email notification automatically when the petition becomes current. What happens is when the clients log in into their client portal. Let me log in as her. So the client is able to click on Share Documents. Then, if they scroll down, we have a section for Case USCIS Receipts. And here they can see the actual file, the picture of the receipt notice. And let me go to the last one. And then click on the link, and it will take them to the actual website with that, without having to track the receipt. Anyway, so that is for the times tracker. Let's learn now how the SMS or text messaging module works. Please message me if you guys have any questions, okay?
Hello, and welcome to our Cerenade video. In this video, we will go over the optional module titled SMS Notification. With this module, you can send a text message to clients and caseworkers from the caseworker portal. They will receive that text message instantly. And with recent enhancements, your clients can now respond to that text message, which you will be able to see and reply in the caseworker portal. Before we begin, it is important to note that you must be enabled for the optional module titled SMS Notifications. Also, by default, your clients cannot respond to a text and will see a message stating they are receiving an automated response. This video will show you how to enable them to respond to SMS messages. Let us log into the caseworker portal. We will first send a message to a client who cannot respond to a text. Then, we will show how to enable them to respond and how that will look. From the home page, you will click on the Tools drop-down menu. You will locate SMS. A pop-up will appear. You will first select the recipient. You can send this to either a client or caseworker. You will search for the client's name and click on Done. Something to be aware of is you might try to send an SMS message to your client, but they do not have a cell phone associated to them. If so, you will see a message next to their name alerting you of this. You can proceed to go into their client profile and add a cell phone number. Be sure to click on Save. If getting this message for a caseworker, this can be added in their user profile of the Admin Tools page. Once the profile has a number associated and they are selected, you can proceed to select your department, meaning from which location you are texting from. You can compose the SMS message. Please note there is a 160 character limit, which is standard on most mobile phones. And by default, it will include your name. You have the option of sending a text with your name, or you can select to not include your name and the client will see it is a message from the department. Once you make your selections and compose the message, your client will receive a text message instantly. They will also see a message saying it is an automated message and to not reply. Something to keep note of is any SMS sent to the client will be logged in their client profile, specifically the log section. Also, if you are inside the client's profile and select Tools and SMS, it will automatically list the client as the recipient of this text. Now that we have seen how SMS messages can be composed and sent, how about wanting your clients to respond? For them to respond, we must give them access in their client profile, specifically the Client Access tab of their client profile. Once inside the Client Access tab, if you scroll down, you will see a checkbox that gives them access to send SMS messages. Select it, and your client now has the ability to respond to your SMS messages. Please note, only one client can be associated to a specific cell phone number. Also, in order for your clients to be able to send you a text message, you must be assigned to them in the Caseworkers tab of the client profile. Be sure to link yourself there. Now that we have given the client the ability to send SMS messages, let us proceed to send another message to the client. We will follow the same steps shown previously on this video. We will compose our message, and once finished, we will click on Send. This time, your client will receive a text but will not see that message to not reply. They can proceed to type out their message. Once your client responds from their phone, you will see a message notification appear in your mailbox up top. Select it. You will now be brought to a screen where those incoming messages are. If you click Open, a pop-up will appear where you see your message interaction with your client. Each message will have a timestamp of when it was sent or received. You can proceed to send more messages here by typing out your message and clicking on Send. Once you are done interacting with the client, you can archive the message and it will send it to your archived messages. Your client will also receive an SMS message notifying that the message has been archived. Any message they attempt to send will be ignored until a new thread is started on your side. This concludes our video on the SMS notifications optional module.
So I received a question and it was, how can I check if I have SMS in my package? So if you guys go to your caseworker portal, on the top right where the settings are, you're gonna see, um, give me one second. You're gonna see the option that says subscription details. So click there and it's going to tell you if you have SMS or not. If you don't, it's going to say NA. If you do, it has like an expiration date. You can also click on the question mark and it takes you to our user's guide where you can see the article step by step with instructions and the video. Which, by the way, again, make sure that you download my PowerPoint presentation because it has all of those links. Let's go over the next module, which is Timekeeper. Especially if you guys have billing too, you want to track your time and then send it to a timed expense. All right, again, message me if you guys have any other questions. By the way, we have new enhancements to this module. So if you have seen or if you're familiar with Timekeeper, I recommend you watch this new version of our Timekeeper module. Thank you.
Hello, and welcome to our Cerenade video. In this video, we will go over the enhancements made to Timekeeper. With the update, we added a separate time entries tab on both the client and case profile. By having a separate time entry section, the profiles can now track total time spent on a client or case profile. Additionally, you can now send a time entry to the time entry area and simultaneously generate an expense. Previously, you would only be able to do one or the other. Before we begin, it is important to note that in order to use this feature, you must be signed up to the Timekeeper optional module. Also, if you want to generate expenses, you must be signed up to billing. Let us log into the caseworker portal. Let us click on the Timekeeper and start a time. We will click on Start Timed Entry. A clock will start. You can edit the description to help you identify this time when you come back to this screen. And you can now navigate away from the screen and the clock will continue. Once you are done, you will come back to this Timekeeper area. You will now click on the Pause button. You will then click on the Move To button. You will see two options. You can move it to the client profile or case profile. If choosing case profile, it will ask you to search for the case. You will also see a checkbox to create an expense. If selecting it, just like it states, it will send this to be an expense as well. If you click the Move button, it will send the time entry to the case profile and it will prompt the ability to create the expense. You can select from your default time expenses here, and once selecting the expense, finalize by clicking Finish to stay on the screen, or Finish and navigate to Case Time Entries to go into the new time entries area of the case profile. Your timed entry and expense have now been created. If we had unchecked the box to create an expense, meaning you only want to send this as a time entry, you will be asked to only search for the case. You can proceed to either selecting Move, which sends it to the time entry area and leaving you in the Timekeeper section, or you can select Move and navigate to Case Time Entries, and it will take you into the new time entries area of the case profile. This new time entries area will only store time entries, meaning it is no longer a part of the log section, where you can now view the overall time spent on this case, as well as individual times that contributed to it. And with this, you can generate a custom report based on the information here, if you are signed up to that optional module. Also, with these timed entries, if you forgot to create an expense and would like to, no worries, there's a button to generate the expense afterwards. By clicking the Create Expense button, you can modify the times, select the expense, and once finished you can click on Finish to stay on the screen, or Finish and navigate to Expenses. Your Expenses tab of the case profile will now show the expense you just created, and you can proceed to create an invoice based on these expenses. If we want to send a timed entry to a client profile, it works similarly. If we start a new timed entry, and this time we send it to the client profile, just like it states, it will send it to the time entry area of the client profile, where you can view the info, build reports, and more. Something to know, however, is if you send a timed entry to the client profile as opposed to the case profile, there is no create an expense button like we saw in the case profile. You would have to manually add the expense in the case profile at a later point. Lastly, by default, you can only start a timed entry but cannot modify those timed entries. If you would like to manually create a timed entry or be able to modify a timed entry, you can give yourself permissions in the admin tools. To go into the admin tools, click on the settings icon on the top right and proceed to click on administrative tools. From the admin tools, click on users. You will then click on the edit button next to a user's profile. Once inside the user's profile, scroll down to the access rights. You will find a checkbox allowing you to manually create timed entries and one to be able to update timed entries. If checking the box that allows you to create a timed entry, you will see a new box appear when going to the Timekeeper function titled Create Timed Entry. By clicking this, you can manually create a time entry where rather than an ongoing clock tracking time, you can manually add the time in the format shown, hours, minutes, and seconds. Once applying your time, you will save it, and it will now reflect the time you just created. From here, you can either start the clock and begin at the time you created, or send it to the time entries area of the client or case profile, as we previously saw. Now, if we go back to the admin and check the box that allows us to update a Timekeeper entry, this will allow us to modify timed entries located in the Timekeeper area. This means, let's say you forgot to pause the clock and it now shows a time that is not accurate. By enabling the update box on the admin, I can go into a time entry and modify it by clicking the edit button. I will now be able to modify the time of any time entry you see here. When applying these settings in admin, make sure to click on save up top to finalize the permissions for the Timekeeper, and please note this is a user setting that is specific to a caseworker. Proceed with giving permissions to whoever you'd like to be able to create and modify timed entries. This concludes our video on the update to Timekeeper.
All right, so lastly, we're going to learn about billing module, and please message me if you guys have any questions. Thank you.
Hello, and welcome to our Cerenade video. In this video, we will show you how to create invoices and accept payments on those invoices. On the description box of this video is a link showing you how to add default expenses to choose from at the moment of creating an invoice. This video will show you how to create invoices with expenses already created in the admin tools page. Also, you must be signed up to the optional module billing. Let us log into the caseworker portal. In order to create invoices, you must have a case profile established. Let us go and search for a case profile. Once inside the case profile, you will go to the Billing tab. You will see two options, Expenses and Invoices. We will first want to locate the expenses that will generate into the invoice. Let us click on Expenses and Charges. You will then click on Add Expenses. By default, it will list expenses set for the type of case you are doing. You can also select the drop-down menu and select No Process. It will then list all your billing items. These can be set in the Admin Tools page, and a link is provided in the description area of this video showing you how. You will now go and select the expenses that apply by clicking on the checkboxes. Once you have your expenses set, you will click on Add Expenses. You will see the expenses listed from there, and you can modify the expenses if needed by clicking on the edit box next to each expense. You can then change the quantity, the rate, and so on. Now that we have our expenses set, we can now go into the Invoices tab to make an invoice out of these expenses. You will click on Add Invoices. You will see your expenses listed that we just set. You will now select the client you wish to charge. It will list the client's tag to this case. Then, you will check which expenses you want to charge to this client, either some or all. You will select the default invoice template. Lastly, you will determine if you want to force your users to accept one type of payment. If you accept multiple types of payments, you will not make a selection here and click on Add. You will not be brought into the invoice. You can modify things here such as add a due date, change descriptions, or even change the notes at the bottom of the invoice. Once you have everything set, including having a due date, you will click on Save and exit this invoice. Your invoice has now been created. If you ever need to access this invoice, you can either do so by either searching for this case profile in which you created the invoice, or you may also go into the client's profile and see the invoice there. If you wish to send this as an email to the client, you can click on the checkbox to the left and click on Email. An email template will appear. You can also set up a payment plan and have the software automatically email for you. If you click on the calendar icon, a pop-up will appear. You will set the first due date, the recurrence, the installment amount, and check for the client to receive automatic emails. You can even dictate how far in advance they get these emails. The software will now be in charge of sending those emails accordingly. If you also have the optional module credit card processing, you can go a step further and save payment card info in the client's profile and schedule monthly payments here. This will be discussed more in detail in the credit card processing optional module video. Once your client is ready to make a payment, they can contact you, and you can come to this invoice and click on the dollar amount icon. You have a variety of options to choose from in the type, such as cash, check, or other. If you have the optional module credit card processing, you may also input credit card info. By doing so, not only will it process here, but also with your LawPay or PayPal account that you have linked. To link it, you must be signed up to that optional module, credit card processing, and you must do it in the admin tools page for it to appear here. Once you've selected your type, the amount, add a reference, and add the payment date, you can click on Add Payment. The invoice will now show it has been paid. If you go to the second page of the invoice, it will now show a payment has been applied as well as a date. Besides adding payments in the case profile, you can also do this from the home page by hovering over the Create button and selecting Process Payment. You will be asked to locate the invoice number. You can then input your payment info, which will reflect on the invoice once processed. You can access created invoice in their client profiles as well, specifically the billing section. Additionally, if you have the optional module credit card processing, your clients can go into the client portal and make a payment on there. Once logged in, they will see the Invoices tab and click on it. They will see the invoice with the option to pay, as well as the option to view the invoice. When clicking the dollar amount, they will now see the option to insert credit card info. Once applied here, it will reflect on their invoice through the client portal, through your caseworker portal, and also the payment will appear on either your PayPal or LawPay account. If you ever need to refund an amount, you can go to your invoices and select the reverse payment button. From here, you can choose to void an amount or to refund. Once you make the selection, you will enter the amount, add a reference if needed, and lastly select the date. You will select void payment or refund payment at the bottom, and the invoice has been updated. The void or refund transaction will show on the second page of the invoice, and it will show on the paid section of your invoices. If you click on the paid amount, it will bring you to a new page showing you the transaction history of this invoice. The last thing to show you here is applying trust accounts, and then applying those funds onto invoices. To add funds into a trust account, you can do so in the client's profile. Once inside the profile, go to the billing section, and you will see the trust account appear. Click on that tab. You will then click on Add Transaction. You will select credit and then apply the amount. You can enter a description if you'd like. You will click on Save. If having the optional module credit card processing, you can even pay with a credit card here. Once applying the payment, it will save in the trust account as well as the account you have saved on LawPay. Once you have the funds added here, you can go into the invoice either here in the client profile or in the case profile. You can add a payment by clicking on the dollar amount. You can then choose Trust Account. The balance will be listed and proceed to enter the amount you wish to charge. Once processed, if you go back to the Trust Account in the client's profile, you will see the new balance as well as where the payments have been applied. This concludes our video on bill.
Awesome. So we're about to finish. I just want to know if, let me see. Here we go. All right. So I want to know because no one sent another question during the billing video. Just want to make sure that you guys have any questions. If not, if your questions were addressed, I appreciate if you please click on the screen to vote. Sometimes they are technical questions and it might require us to connect to your screen, but I appreciate if you click to vote. Thank you so much. All right, I'll just stop there because I've got more than 50%. So let me continue. Here we go. So what happens when I have questions? So here are your resources and support. You can contact us over the phone Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 Pacific Standard Time, except on holidays. You can also email us 24/7. That's our email address. And you can also click on your home screen where it says technical support on the top right corner, and you can send your feedback to developers as well. We have the user's guide available, and we do these live trainings for free every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We recommend that you listen to our podcast. It's called Serenade Snacks. We also have a Facebook forum page. I highly recommend that you guys join so you can interact with other users. And of course, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Serenade Client Academy. Some of the questions that you guys submitted prior were how to transfer data from questionnaires to forms. Once you accept the questionnaire from the mailbox, create a case and open the forms. So basically, the data transfers from the questionnaire to the client profile and then to the forms once you have the case profile. I put the link right here if you guys want to follow the steps. How to send a questionnaire and a text message with no password. Well, you can use our passwordless link feature. I put the link right here also to help you follow the steps or watch the video. If you want to send it via text message, you do need to be subscribed to the optional module called SMS. But technically, even if you don't have SMS, you can send it via email. You can also send this passwordless link via any other channel by copying and pasting the link, such as WhatsApp. So you don't really have to have SMS unless you want to send it directly from eImmigration, then yes. Lastly, how to upgrade a Plan C. Can I pick which users to upgrade a Plan C and which ones to remain on Plan A? No, all users must be under the same plan. And to upgrade, just give us a call or email us so we can assist you. And yeah, you'll receive a courtesy upgrade plan training so that we can show your staff how to use all the features. I put the links right here for the Did You Know section. For those who haven't learned about these modules or features, some of these are already included in your package. Please click on the links and learn, and of course, contact us if you have any questions. But definitely is worth learning and being in the know, especially if you are paying for these modules. And these are the upcoming trainings for the month of August. Um, we've got the client portal related features, how to customize intake forms, basic training for new users, and also how to learn or how to use e-immigration to its full potential. Learn what's new. All right, so thank you so much for those who join us today. I hope that you learned something new. And if you are interested in upgrading your plan, please contact our sales team. Thank you and have a great afternoon. Make sure that you guys download the PowerPoint. Just click on handouts before you disconnect so that you can keep the PowerPoint presentation. Thank you so much. You too. Have a wonderful weekend. Take care.